and gentlemen, my name is Andrew Stott and I'm the Emperor of Stomaria. Today we're going to be discussing how common sense has, for once, prevailed. So for those that don't know, about 2 weeks ago we released a video called Crazy Communist Micronations. Now in this video we highlighted initially some of the declarations of war or sanctions or embargoes that are levelled against us at any given time. We get these kinds of things at least once a week, and now and again, every couple of years, we like to highlight a few recent examples so as to highlight to our own community just how different we are from a lot of the self-defined micronations out there, how we do things differently, and how we actually pursue objectives and values and aspirations that are actually worthwhile. And when it comes to micronational war and conflict and all of that jazz, this is something that we routinely make fun of. And as I say, that video was supposed to be a bit more lighthearted in highlighting some of those examples. However, towards the end of the video, we ended up discussing something far more serious and far more impactful. And this is something that I wanted to discuss a little bit more because there has been an update on that front. So the actual video, by the end of it, was discussing something that I have been discussing for many years, which is this tendency for younger members of the Micronational community to embrace ideologies that they think are a bit edgy or out there, either because they think it's funny or because they want to be a bit edgy, want to gain some attention or whatever else. And this tends to be communism, fascism and neo-Nazism, and there is often a lot of crossover between all of these different ideologies, and I have discussed the reasons and rationale for that in the past. That's not really the purpose of this video. However, I did highlight in that particular video a particular micronation and a particular young man who identified as a communist and a Stalinist. And in the video that he published on his own YouTube channel, he was giving this speech while making Nazi salutes. Now, I actually took the liberty of blurring out this young man's face because he was clearly old enough to know better, but still pursued with updating and uploading this video content of himself making these salutes. And in the event that he did decide to eventually take that video down, which is something I did encourage him to do in the video that I published and released, I didn't want his face to be on my channel. So as I say, I took the liberty of blurring out his face and all of that jazz. However, there has been some developments with this particular story, and this is something that I did want to highlight because this is something that is quite important in the sense that when we talk about micronations or nation building, people think it is just some make-believe hobby which they can, drop in and out of and not think anything of it. But if you are going to be involved in this kind of process, this kind of experience, and you are putting footage of yourself, either photos or videos of yourself doing things which in the real world could have real world implications, like making a Nazi salute or goose-stepping around your parents' back garden, you do not want these sorts of things to fall in the hands of the wrong people. That is to say, you don't want your employers to find out, or potential partners, friends or family. You don't want this thing to hang over to you for the rest of your life. So you have to be very careful about what you publish online. And that goes for pretty much anything in general, but especially if you're going to be identifying as an advocate for some of the vilest, most tyrannical, oppressive and genocidal ideologies in human history, and actually going, full on in the sense that you are literally making these Nazi salutes, you are goose-stepping around your parents' back garden, you are building shrines to Lenin, and all of that sort of thing. Now, this video of ours did gain a lot of attention and did gain a lot of traction. And more importantly, it did also gain a lot of positive feedback, which was very gratifying to know. And during this time, we did actually receive a lot of emails from individuals who were familiar with Stravonska, this micronation that this particular individual making a Nazi salute was representing. And they said that they hadn't come across this content before, and that because they had been exposed to it, that they would be actively distancing themselves from this individual and from Stravonska. They were going to either break off relations or unsubscribe from their channel or cease diplomatic ties or stop pursuing some kind of formal affiliation with them. They were looking to take a step back away from them, which is, as I say, it's the right thing to do, because you do not want to have association with that kind of individual, that kind of micronation, that kind of ideology. It will do you no favours. Now, as we were receiving these emails, we also had this particular individual making the Nazi salute and his younger brother commenting on our YouTube video. And they were saying that I was in fact the fascist because I was wearing a turtleneck in a previous video of ours, that I was comparable to Saddam Hussein because the grey uniform of the Imperial Guard, which is of course a decommissioned US military uniform, was likened to his own for some reason or another. And they insisted that the Nazi salute that was being performed in this video of his wasn't a Nazi salute at all. He was simply waving to an imaginary crowd. And these kinds of comments reeked of desperation. And it was becoming very clear that they were going to be very disruptive. And they were just that. They made dozens and dozens of comments on this single video, becoming more and more unhinged as time went on, and evidently more and more desperate as time went on, as we were exposing what they had been promoting to their audience, to a far less receptive audience. That is to say, within the Empire of Stomaria, obviously things like communism, fascism, and neo-Nazism is not something that's held in particularly high regard, despite it being very much the norm in some dark corners of the Micronational community, which rears its head from time to time. Now, these two individuals were temporarily banned from our YouTube channel because, as I say, they were becoming more and more unhinged, and we didn't really hear anything more about it from that point. It was interesting to note, though, that Pangaria, the micronation that we highlighted in the Crazy Communist Micronations video as one of the ones that declared war against Stomaria, they also reached out to us, and they actually made it clear that they were going to be actively distancing themselves from Stravonska as well. So that was quite an interesting development on that front as well. But as I say, we didn't hear anything more about it up until very recently, when someone told me that the Stravonska YouTube channel had in fact either been hidden or permanently deleted. We're not really sure which at this point, but the content of their channel is now no longer accessible, as far as we know, to anyone, certainly in the public space. And this is perhaps the best outcome that we could have hoped for. That is to say, in the video that we released a few weeks ago, I did make a point of saying that if you are involved in a communist micronation or a fascist micronation or a neo-Nazi micronation, the very best thing you can do is to delete all of the content and scrub your name from it as best as you can. If you absolutely have to, come up with something more palatable and try again. Or find another hobby or interest that's going to take up your time. But trying to pursue this kind of agenda, even if it is for the lols, even if it is for satire, it's not going to do you any favours in the long run. It is reprehensible to advocate for these sorts of ideologies in any shape or form, and I promise you, you will come to regret it later in life. So I would follow suit, I would do what Stravonska has done, and as I say, purge everything as much as you can online, and then build something back up if you absolutely have to, or simply walk away from it. But do not ruin your life by promoting this sort of content of yourself in the public space for all to see. Do not wreck your future prospects over something so ridiculous. If you want to learn more about Stomaria or play an active role in our development and expansion, visit our website at www.stomaria.com and find out what it means to be a Stomarian.